we're going to close today with new home sales rising in early 2024. Hold on. Didn't we just talk about new permits that were going? Okay. New home sales in early 2024. Oh my gosh, I can't even say it right, guys. New home sales rise in early 2024, but remain low. Coming in from CoreLogic, you have Texas metro areas taking 4 of the top 5 spots for new home sales volume over the past year. Disclaimer, new home sales volume was also in the trenches in 23. So we're kind of like looking up the mountain from the bottom of the valley. So any of these numbers are going to seem astronomically high. They are, but proportionate to where we were coming from. So home price gains are still just that. They are gains. They are not declines in any of these areas for both new homes and existing homes. The rate of gain had slowed down in 22 once the Fed started raising rates and kind of hit their trough in, guess what? Ding, 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 fall of 23 when rates were flirting with the 8s. And now you have home price gains happening again. And that is all backed by CoreLogic. I mean, look, they're a trustworthy source, and it's really hard to argue with them because they're sourcing all the public data in all these places.
Yeah. I'm amazed how still existing home prices just keep kind of going higher than new home builds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we just said, there's no homes, so what did we expect them to like stay, hold, and then more people wanting to buy? That's why I'm very cautious to see, how the Fed reacts in June to see if they drop rates, because that's going to mean flood more people going into the summer to the end of the year. So I just don't see it happening for the sake of them wanting to keep inflation still, at a growth slower than we would want it to, because it's still running up. It's just not as fast as it was these last couple of months and years. So it's going to be tricky to see.
I think that there's a lot of buyer behavior behind this, obviously. That's overstated. But I think the new home versus existing thing partly is the system for which it takes to buy a new home. So here, locally, we've seen lotteries where you put your name in, and then your name might get picked.
Maybe.
So if your name is not picked and you can't buy a new home because your name isn't picked, what do you go buy? An existing home. So part of that is just padded with the outcomes of places like here where there's not as many new buildings as we would need. Yeah. And then there's a lottery system to pick people who can and cannot buy the home in the neighborhood you want to get in on. And then if you don't get that, then you're going to go looking at what already there is existing.
Yeah, and then if you're going into these no builders, right, and you got a name like Andy, well, that's pretty easy. We'll go for an Andy. But what if you spell out my name, Guillermo, right? Like, what the? I can't even say it. I'm not pronounce it. I'm not going to even put it in the letter there, so it could.
I don't know, Guillermo. I've had bad experiences with those.
Well, it's just longer instead of Andy, right? Like, Andy's fast. It's a few letters, and under Guillermo, like, whoa, that's too long. We're not going to put that one.
I wonder how they choose them. Do you think they put them all in a little ball like
by name? By name.
Dude,
no, Brian,
on.
I just told you.
Bro, geez.
Brian, did you not listen to me?
Little bingo
it's
balls.
By name.
It's a bingo balls.
So if you guys are going to a new home build, make sure you shorten that name, okay? If it's long, just shorten it.
You're like, my name's not
Guillermo.
William.
I'm just going to put Will.
It's Will or Bill for short.
Yeah. It just depends. If they're, it just
trying to make it easy on you guys.
Palermo.
Yeah.
Texas guys, let's just talk about Texas for a second, because they took 4 of the top 5 spots, and then they say 4 of 5. The article actually talks about the top 10, which includes some in Florida and whatnot. And Arizona's in here too. Yeah. But Dallas, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio, all with net home sales growth during this time. And look, here's the deal. We have people that we've watched go to Texas.
Yeah.
One of our favorite
Vegas.
realtors, Herb, headed out to Texas, and people were just going there. I've another one of our clients. I literally just said goodbye to him last week. Guess where he's moving?
Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Found a new job out there and drove himself out last week.
We also had a good friend that went to Austin.
Yes, we did.
And then 3 years
later, came back to San Diego.
That's right.
So there is those scenarios, guys.
There's a little bit of everything. But yes, I think, one, a lot of our military are going to different states because when they get out of the military also, we got to keep in mind they'll have some sort of disability. Not everybody, but the majority of them. And it so happens that Texas, Arizona, Florida, Las Vegas, if you're 100% disabled, you have no property tax.
No property tax, right.
And there's also no state tax.
Right. So you're maybe not going to pay any income tax and no property tax.
Right. And so that's going to put anywhere from 30 to 40% of what you would have been taxed back in your pocket.
Yeah.
So these things factor in. So somebody's like, wait a minute, I have weather, or I'm going to go sacrifice the weather, and cost of living. And it's like, man, it feels good when you can take this sort of income somewhere else to another state and just afford a lot more.
Yeah.
So
what do you guys so we see people like leaving California. We do see going to Florida. We do see going to Texas. We do see going to Nevada. I have family that have moved to all of those places I mentioned.
Yes, exactly.
Hold on. Wait a second.
I'm living through this
And
myself.
then here we are still here.
It's so true.
What if you were to project when you think we'll see some cooling out of that? When would you suspect that's going to kind of moderate?
When California stops putting all these rules and regulations and stops taxing everything, right?
So,
we just heard that in July, we're going to start taxing people based on, they're going to pay their electricity bill based on their income, even if you have solar.
Their
That's a bill
socioeconomic status.
that they're thinking about. So if you're successful, you're going to pay the price because you're successful, right?
It's proportionate pay.
Like, that is just unreal.
It incentivizes not trying. I mean, I'm not going to say it incentivizes not trying because that's probably too hard of an angle to have on this channel.
But I mean, it is what it is.
But you're going to pay less if you make less, and you're going to pay more if you make more.
Yeah, it's kind of like, remember last year when there were the loan pricing adjustments that were being made? If you had excellent credit scores, and you're putting 20% down, it was like a 0.5% to 0.75% hit to your rate. Like,
because you're going to help the ones
and
that
I
have
remember
lower
my
credit,
client calling me at that time and saying, Will, should I just not make my payment this month so I can reduce my FICO score?
That's ridiculous.
And luckily it didn't pass, right? Like, we didn't implement that. Something got pushed later, but like, who's
making these laws? Who's making these rules?
So,
That's what I wanted to say. When they stop coming out with these laws that are restrictive to letting people work or grow in the way that they need to let society kind of flow on its own, every single time they input a new law, it's like they're trying to hold us back, stop our growth, or, somehow deter us from where we need to go. And then that just creates all these other problems that we don't need. Like, it sounds so silly, but here in San Diego, they stopped letting people do certain yoga classes at the beach.
Oh, dude!
But then hold on, I'm driving everywhere, and there's homeless tents. There. I was so amazed that there was a bed, a full-on bed frame under the freeway, and I was just kind of like, and I'm seeing them more and more and more, like little communities now. Like, you just getting off the freeway, and like they're like right there. I'm like, why aren't we doing something about those type of things?
You know the story he's talking about or no?
Of course, I see it all the time.
No, the guy who got arrested at the beach for teaching a yoga class.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, this happened like last weekend.
Like,
he got arrested. He was teaching a yoga class, and I don't know if he didn't have a permit or whatever it was.
But you're
class.
telling me that.
But the argument in the news article is like, okay, this guy's doing this, but we also have all these people who are like walking onto the beach that didn't come through our immigration window.
God. Yeah.
Whether you are on either side of that conversation, this dude who's doing yoga at the beach leading a class got arrested.
Yeah.
So I think I understand people who maybe have politics as a high priority in their life might go, yeah, I'm leaving here. I don't like that. I think another problem that we have right now is that at the state level, we have a big insurance problem.
Yeah.
Now, that's not affecting large swaths of people, but the ability to get reinsured is really hard right now. And if you cannot get reinsured, we cited an article here on this show talking about a family who was moving because they had to leave their farm because their insurance was going to like $12,000 a year, and it was like $1,200 a year. And it's like, if you are retired and you don't have that much money, doesn't matter. You can't stay here.
Yeah.
If you can't stay here because your insurance is now 10 times the cost and it's $1,000 a month, and you can't afford it, you're on fixed income, that's going to make you sell and leave.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's happening for people.
I almost had to leave because I heard a bird in here right now.
I think people are leaving because they are looking for that no state income. I think they're leaving because they're going to be retiring and they want a simple life. They want a smaller place in some cases. They're downsizing, and they don't want the hassle of this high upkeep California life. I just think that's what's happening.
Exactly.
I hear it all the time.
Exactly. So that's why I think, all these states that you mentioned, these are the states that have they're actually landlord-friendly states. They're They respect the veteran. They give, they allow the veteran to go in there and really take advantage for what they fought for and for their sacrifice, so they're well taken care of. And they also have no state tax. So I just think it's a win-win all around. And here we're just not going to have any of that stuff. Not anytime soon.
Yeah. So the question, back on track, is when do you guys think there'll be some sort of return to normalcy? I mean, you're saying when the policies are less stupid, right, Brian? So that's not really date specific. Yeah. Okay, fine. What do you think?
Yeah. Once we start getting a lot more inventory as well.
Okay. So I think
when we're allowing builders to really start building here.
Yeah, I think it's like all those things obviously have to come into play. I mean, we have to have some sensible measures in place for cost of living in California. Number one. Number two, we have to figure out a way to get supply in places where their demand is like so high and really outweighing the inventory. Number three, I think cost of living in general, as far as entry level to California, I think that's also hurting us. Yeah. And then we have to have a solution for the insurance problem. The insurance problem is going to look, it unfortunately meant someone fell out of escrow last week on a deal because the insurance came back 4 times harder than we thought.
Yeah.
Just to insure the place, which you're required to have.
Where it's not even a fired
and it's a brand
zone
new, it's
area
a brand
like
new
that.
House. Like they just built it maybe like less than 2-3 years ago. Like it's just kind of like, that's kind of it's horrible because it's like you take that away from the client that wants that so bad, but because something that's out of their control.
Yeah, everything's changing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you guys, everything's changing. Everything you're asking nowadays, you have to ask more questions.
Yeah.
You have to do more due diligence. What's my insurance? So like you really have to know what your true payment is.
Yeah.
100%.
I just had a client today asking me, hey, these new builds here behind Millennia, like, what do you think? And I go, well, you got to ask them what that Melrose is. Some states you won't know what that is, but here in California, it's an additional property tax on top of your already on average, just 1.25% property tax here in California, 100%. San Diego. So you have to know what that Melrose is going to be. You have to know what your HOA is going to be. And now you really have to know what that homeowner's insurance is. If there's just a small little patch of just bushes there, go consider that fire. That's a fire zone already. Whereas before, and in this case, not even a block away was that fire department station.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That